Sure, you just need to push this button here. Seeing the excitement in the little one's eyes, Mag pressed the small button on the side of the box. Suddenly, the edges of the music box lit up in vibrant colors. After flickering twice, the tiny elf girl inside began to play her violin. She opened her mouth, and a melodious tune poured out. A little girl goes to collect mushrooms. She carries a big bamboo basket, leaving in the early morning barefoot. Sai luo luo, li sai luo luo li sai. The familiar tune startled Mag. He had assumed the system would use songs from this world, never expecting to hear a little girl with mushrooms, translated into the common language. It was lively and pleasing to the ear. The craftsmanship of the music box was remarkable. Not only did the little elf sing and play, but she also rotated gracefully, her dress swaying with each movement. It was truly enchanting. System, aren't you afraid I might become a famous children's song singer with these 50 songs? Mag teased internally. You're incapable of singing in tune, so that's unlikely, the system retorted calmly. Mag had no words. The system clearly knew him too well. However, he turned his attention back to his daughter and smiled. It doesn't matter. Maybe I can't, but my daughter can. There's a 50% chance she inherited your lack of pitch, the system quipped. No need to worry. She's inherited all the good genes. She'll master this song in 3 days. Just wait and see, Mag said confidently, watching Amy. Elves were naturally talented. With their long lifespans, they had plenty of time to hone their artistic skills. Many were gifted singers, dancers, and artists. Just then, a sudden burst of sound startled the kitten. It leaped backward with a cry. Mag swiftly caught it before it could tumble off the counter. Ugly Duckling, still shaken, stared at the little elf with wide eyes, then cautiously backed away, wariness clear in its posture. Amy, however, was transfixed, her eyes shining. When the song ended, she turned to Mag, her excitement bubbling over. Father, this little elf is amazing. Is she real? Can she sing other songs? Mag smiled and nodded. She'll be your little friend from now on. She's not real, but she can sing many songs for you. Let's focus on this one first. Once you've learned it, we'll listen to another, okay? He wanted Amy to learn the songs, not just listen to them. Amy nodded eagerly. Okay, Amy loves singing. I'll have Mushroom Fairy teach me. She touched the music box fondly, satisfied. Mag raised an eyebrow. Mushroom Fairy? A peculiar name for such a delicate elf. But, Dad, Mushroom Fairy mentioned lollipops in the song. What's a lollipop? She said she'd share it with the other kids. Is it delicious? Amy asked curiously. Mag nodded. Yes, they're delicious. But I can't make one for you right now, he said regretfully. Foodies had a unique trait. They might forget lyrics or melodies, but they never forgot food mentioned in a song. The system had made it clear that lollipops were locked behind a recipe requirement. Knowing the system's strict rules, Mag didn't push the matter further. However, candy shops in Aiden Square could make lollipops. If Amy wanted them, he could commission some. Maybe he could even introduce them to this world's market. Oh! Amy looked a bit disappointed, but her smile returned when she glanced at the music box. She climbed onto a step of her chair, wrapped her arms around Mag's neck, and kissed his cheek. Thank you, Father, for this singing mushroom fairy. I love her. Mag chuckled and ruffled her hair. I'm glad you like it. I'll clean up now. If you're tired, take Ugly Duckling upstairs for a nap. Seeing her joy over his gift made him feel deeply satisfied. Amy nodded sweetly. Okay, but I want to listen a little longer. Mag adjusted the settings so the music box would repeat A Little Girl with Mushrooms. Then, he turned to clean the restaurant as Amy rested her chin in her hands, watching the music box spin. With more customers coming in lately, his workload had grown. He had to handle ingredients, serve guests, take orders, cook, and clean, doing everything on his own. It was exhausting. Yangzhou fried rice helped replenish his stamina, but mentally, the constant routine was draining. He needed a reliable assistant soon. By the time Mag finished cleaning, Amy had dozed off at the counter, the music still playing softly. The kitten, having overcome its initial fear, crept closer to the music box, its gaze wary but intrigued. Sleep upstairs, or you'll catch a cold, Mag glanced at the cautious kitten, dried his hands, and gently lifted Amy into his arms. He picked up Ugly Duckling as well and carried them upstairs. Meow. Ugly Duckling whined, pawing weakly at Mag's hand in protest. It had summoned all its courage to approach the elf, only to be taken away at the last moment. After tucking Amy and her kitten into bed, Mag went downstairs to prepare ingredients for dinner. He placed the music box back in its compartment. It had proven quite useful in helping his little girl drift off to sleep. Tonight, Mag planned to make 128 rugiamos. The dough required 2 hours of kneading, which only emphasized the need for him to enhance his strength. If he could increase it by just 0.5, he could cut the kneading time in half. As he worked the dough, he thought about his future plans. Life with Amy was happy and comfortable, but as a father, he wanted to provide an even better life for his daughter. His restaurant was his foundation. It had brought him recognition, respect, and financial stability. He enjoyed running it and took pride in his craft. Each day, new customers arrived, and although it wasn't yet overflowing with patrons, he was already quite busy. He was on the verge of reaching his goal of selling 1,000 rugiamos. At this pace, he needed only 2 more days before unlocking tofu pudding for his menu. The mere thought of tofu pudding made his mouth water, and his kneading hands became more vigorous with renewed enthusiasm. "Father," Amy's sleepy voice called from the door. She held Ugly Duckling in her arms, her eyes still drowsy. The kitten, seemingly recharged from its nap, slid down her dress and began hopping energetically around the kitchen. "Sit down. I'll get you some water," Mag said with a smile, turning to fetch a glass. Just as he reached for it, the playful kitten collided with his feet. It froze for a moment before dramatically flopping onto its back, motionless, gazing at Amy with watery eyes, its expression aggrieved. "An accident, scammer?" Mag chuckled. This little rascal had an Oscar-worthy performance. It seemed to have abandoned any noble aspirations and was aiming for a career in acting instead. "Ugly Duckling, I saw what happened. If you like the floors so much, don't bother getting up. But I won't hold you anymore if you get dirty," Amy said sternly. Meow. The kitten immediately sprang to its feet, sulking as it trotted back to Amy and rubbed against her leg for comfort. After Amy finished her water, she sat with her music box and started humming along to the tune. She must have inherited her mother's musical talent, as she was able to hum along after only hearing the song a few times. It seemed she would master it within a day or two, her sweet, childish voice filling the air. Mag checked the time. It was only 4:30, yet customers were already gathering outside, peering through the window and knocking occasionally. He ignored them. It was too early to open. He needed a break before serving dinner. The small crowd outside grew into a line of about 6 people. Some waited patiently, while others became restless. "Why isn't it open yet?" "I skipped lunch to come early for a rugiamo," a young man muttered, pacing anxiously. He considered knocking again, but hesitated. Others had already done so to no avail. "Calm down," Crosses said, his tone slow but tinged with irritation. "The owner is punctual. He won't open a minute before 5, and he won't serve you after 9. Be patient." Despite his casual demeanor, Krasov felt somewhat humiliated. As a 10th-tier magic caster, waiting in line for a meal was beneath him. If it weren't for the Yangzhou fried rice and the little girl, he wouldn't be here. Still, he considered himself fortunate that he had remained hidden for over a decade. Few in Chaos City recognized him now, saving him from total disgrace. "Mag's Rugiamo is worth the wait. You won't find anything like it anywhere else," Harrison chimed in, grinning. He had invited friends, but they were busy, so he had come alone. A carriage pulled up nearby. "Harrison, you're here early. Alone?" George asked as he stepped out, surprised. "They're all busy tonight, and I have business later, so I came ahead of time," Harrison explained before adding curiously. "So, did your wife like the Yangzhou fried rice?" George grinned and handed him a dragon coin. "Here, a dragon coin. She didn't just like it, she loved it. She hadn't eaten much for days, but she finished the entire plate. Not even a single grain of rice left. And now she's demanding more. That's why I'm here, to get her dinner." She's decided to eat Yangzhou fried rice for every meal. Harrison laughed, pocketing the coin. All thanks to Mag. So more pocket money for you now. George nodded, still smiling. Yes, but I won't be able to hang out with you guys for a while. I need to stay home with my wife. Harrison gave a knowing nod. That's fair. I'll just have to drink more in your absence. After resting, Mag prepared 2 plates of Yangzhou fried rice and placed the bai ji bread in the oven. During supper, Ugly Duckling gazed at them longingly, eyes filled with sorrow. It looked so pitiful that Mag almost considered giving it some fried rice and rujiamo. But before he could say anything, Amy's sharp tongue cut in, making the kitten look away, defeated as always. By the time Mag finished clearing the table, it was exactly 5 o'clock. He opened the door and was momentarily stunned. A crowd of over 24 people had gathered outside. Their faces lit up as the door finally swung open.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
The long queue had drawn a lot of attention. This corner on the Aiden Square had only unusual shops like Magic Potion Shop, Forge, etc., so nobody would come here unless they had to or they were just strolling. People had never seen such a long waiting line before any shop or restaurant, so they were pretty intrigued. The grand restaurant and the expectant faces made them curious. What does it sell? The owner has so many customers just waiting outside. They wondered. What was more surprising was that these customers were waiting quietly. People who knew each other might talk to one another in a low voice now and then, but unlike other restaurants, they were not very restless and impatient. This atmosphere and their expectant faces gathered some onlookers. Although they didn't join the long line, they stayed. They wanted to find out what this restaurant had to offer. Mag was startled by the long queue. He had never thought that so many people would come so early. Besides, the queue had managed to attract over 20 spectators. He was not very confident that all of them would become his customers, but there was a high chance that some would, added Novel Benet. Oh, finally. Mag, I've waited for a half hour, the young man standing at the head of the line complained, though his eyes shone with delight. We follow the opening hours on the signboard here. You can come when it suits you. Now come in, please, Mag said with a smile, holding the door open. There was no apology on his face, though. He was not prepared to compromise on opening hours. He needed enough time to rest and prepare. Moreover, if this rule were broken, he would have to open earlier and close later again and again. That was the last thing he wanted. He didn't like the idea of losing his rest day. The young man nodded. I know. It's the rule. I'd like 2 rujiamos, please, he said as he walked in. He had seen Mag and Amy eating inside and found Mag a little unreasonable when he didn't let them in. That being said, he had to forgive him on account of the tasty food. After all, he would never eat anything this good in another restaurant even if he waited for one day. Krasa walked up to the door and smiled. Mag, have you given any thought to? Sir, please come in and place your order first. We don't want to make the ones behind you wait for too long, do we? Mag interrupted with an impeccable smile and a perfect excuse. No, Krasa had no choice but to bite back his words and limped inside, leaning on his staff. When he saw Amy, who was playing with her kitten at the counter, his eyes brightened again. He hurriedly walked to the table near the counter and seated himself. Good evening, little girl, he said to Amy, smiling. Amy raised her head and took a glance at Krasu. Good evening, white-bearded grandpa. She caught sight of his staff, which had a sapphire at the top. Is that a magic staff? The one that every magic caster has, she asked curiously. Yes, and it's not a normal magic staff. Apart from performing magic, it could be used to hit my enemies. I have hit a dragon's head with it once, Krasu answered with a smile, gently running his hand along the staff. Suddenly, he found himself missing the old times. When he was young, his fearlessness had won him the nickname Mad Magic Caster. But this renown seemed to have all but faded. Good for you, Amy said indifferently as she stared at the sapphire. Obviously, she was more interested in the shining gem. Krasu had intended to brag about his past, but Amy's indifference really put a damper on his speech. He gave an awkward smile and stopped talking. At least he had found an opportunity to talk to Amy, so he wasn't in a rush. This little girl must have many interests, and I only need to find one to coax her into leaving with me. He turned and saw Mag walking in. Mag, I'd like 2 plates of Yangzhou fried rice. Please serve them up separately. Mag nodded. Okay, please wait a sec. He turned around and went into the kitchen. I just taught Amy to detect deception this noon, and now this evil-willed Krasu wants to trick her into becoming his disciple. He can be used to assess my teaching's results. If I have overlooked something, I'll make it up with Amy later tonight. All the customers had entered, and still the restaurant was not full. That was the benefit of a larger restaurant. There were 16 tables, and each was able to seat 4 people, so it could accommodate up to 64 customers at one time. Many customers were sitting alone. Few were sharing the table with strangers. They had no choice but to share their table when there were more customers. Out of curiosity, many onlookers came in as well, but when they saw only 2 dishes and their high prices, most of them shook their heads and left. The owner here must be out of his mind. The ones that had left thought, 600 copper coins for a plate of Yangzhou fried rice? Many people have to work for days to earn that money. Others who had some coins in their pockets stayed, but didn't place their order right away. They had planned to wait and see the food first. A man's voice rang out. Mag, I brought my own chair. Can I come in? The door was pushed open and a demon stuck his head in the door. Some customers were startled, and some were looking at him with alarm. Lava demons were known for their grumpy temper, and this one was surely not a good-tempered one. Big bald head, don't be so loud, or I'll set you on fire, Amy said sullenly as she looked at Sargeras. She didn't want him to frighten the customers. Sargeras gave an apologetic smile right away. He remembered all too well the sting of her little fireball. He had earned 9 gold coins from his quest today. He didn't want to cause any trouble, because he needed the Rigiamo here. So, he lowered his voice. Mag! The lava demon was like a sheep in his restaurant. Mag wanted to laugh. Never thought he would bring a chair. Maybe he was a little scared by the $10 chair, but he walked to the kitchen door and nodded. Sure, come in. Sargeras opened the door, walked in with a humble iron chair, and took a seat by the door. He opened his mouth to order food, but the sight of Krasa choked off his words. His eyes widened. Isn't that? Sargeras bit back his words as he gazed at Krasu and cringed. He had seen a magic caster defeat a dragon outside of Rodu, and he had heard him shout that he would batter the dragon's head with his staff. And now that magic caster was waiting to be served here in his white robe. He could only see his profile back then, but he had recognized him at first glance. He was in awe of powerful humans. He felt he could also fight a dragon after he got to another level and procured the weapon under the Holy Lake, but he might have to eat a lot of Rigiamos first. He had to find quests in the guild and make money to eat Rigiamo every day. The owner here is indeed much stronger than he seems. Such a powerful magic caster is eating in his restaurant, Sargeras thought. He felt fortunate that he hadn't made any waves in the morning. Mag, I'd like 3 Rigiamos, he said to the owner. He had only eaten 1 Rigiamo for breakfast and several wild fruits in the swamp for lunch. He had killed a dozen poison dart frogs and felt famished right now. The quest payment was only sufficient to pay for 3 Rigiamos. He needed a lot more. He had to go to the guild early tomorrow to seek quests with better payment. Mag nodded. All right, please wait a moment. Sargeras moved the wooden chair aside. His iron chair only had several bars and a round plate, simple yet firm. Seeing that he was using it to eat Rigiamo, it should be difficult to burn. Mag was not very worried that he would burn the floor or wall, because he hadn't left a mark on the floor in the morning. It seemed the system had built this restaurant with some pretty good materials. The floor is made of rocks from the bottom of Santonia, an active volcano which is the holy land of the lava demons, the system said proudly. The material was processed by sanding, polishing. The floor has high heat resistance. The wall is made of synthetic soundproof material, which has high hardness. A coating using the same material as the floor has been applied on the surface, so it also has good heat resistance. Then is the wall strong enough to keep out dragons? Mag asked as he lifted an eyebrow. For a while, the system said nothing. The restaurant is designed to deal with normal problems. You should try not to provoke a dragon if you cherish your life. Aren't dragons normal in this world? System, you need to work on your construction ability. Mag sighed regretfully. Mag hadn't expected too much from the building, though. However, If the walls were extremely strong, he could use his restaurant as a fortress. Please don't underestimate me. It's just that you haven't upgraded the restaurant. It's still LV1, the system said seriously. Mag's eyes lit up immediately. The restaurant has levels? How to upgrade it? More missions? He asked eagerly. It's more interesting if it could be upgraded. Maybe I can turn it into a fortress after all. Spend 50,000 gold coins on anything except ingredients. And then the restaurant will be upgraded to LV2, answered the system. Mag was taken aback. You money grubber. He had thought that he might have to do some missions. Turns out I only need to pay to upgrade. But 50,000? What a rip-off. After you've upgraded it to LV2, you'll be given a chance to change the restaurant for free, and you can unlock many other things. Go for it, the system said. I don't have enough money, Mag said with a twist of his mouth. He was still trying hard to save 10,000 to buy his strength. He wasn't able to procure 50,000 anytime soon. Anyway, he was pretty happy with the restaurant now and was in no rush to upgrade it. Mag started serving customers in the order of their entry. The bread loaves were almost ready in the oven, so he served Rigiamo first. After he put the second batch of by G bread into the oven, he began cooking Yangzhou fried rice. Many customers came very early these days, so Mabai was not always the first anymore. Although he lived next door, he was busy forging weapons every day. He arrived shortly after it had opened and ordered 2 plates of fried rice as usual. Little girl, can I buy you something to eat? Crosses smiled as he looked at Amy, trying to lure her with good food. Amy's eyes brightened. Okay. Then she shook her head. But I'm already full. You can buy me something tomorrow. You'll pay for me, right? Sure. I'll buy you anything you like, Crosses said with a big smile. She's a little foodie. She can't resist good food. I can easily check her magic talent as long as we are alone. Maybe I can even use food to make her come with me to the tower. Mabai studied Crossu with narrowed eyes. Then he took a look at Mag, who was slaving away in the kitchen. I have to warn Mag later. Amy nodded happily. Then I'll eat breakfast after you arrive in the early morning. Just pay for my food. I like my father's cooking. It's the best, she said with an innocent smile. Crossu had planned to show off the tasty food in Rodu to intrigue Amy, but now he felt like he had played himself. Then he found she had a point now that he thought on it. He hadn't found anything good to eat for years in the whole Rodu, let alone Chaos City, but Mag's fried rice made him want to eat it for every meal. It wasn't a smart move to offer to buy the owner's girl something to eat. Now that he had played himself, he had to live with it, right? Then I'll come here and pay for you tomorrow, he said with a helpless nod at it Novel Benedat. Amy nodded. Thank you, white-bearded grandpa. It felt so good to get paid when you ate your own food at your own house. Mabai froze for a minute and almost laughed out loud. He looked at Amy and found his worry was completely unnecessary. She isn't easily tricked. Other customers were all gazing at Amy with interest. This little half-elf girl is so cute and talks in a funny way. She often makes people speechless, but it's very amusing to watch. Crossu refused to give up easily. He thought a moment, and then his face lit up. I can show you something interesting like dancing snowmen. He snapped his fingers, and many thumb-sized white snowmen jumped down from his hand. They started dancing in a ring on the table. 5 white little men formed a little ring and waved their hands to dance on the table, as if they were dancing around a bonfire. They immediately caught people's eyes. It was naturally very magical to normal people. The reason why humans could live on this continent was because of intrepid soldiers. Besides them, powerful magic casters were also definitely worth mentioning. In the war among species, they had turned a losing war into victory more than once. After the war, the royals of the Roth Empire held them in high regard. They had built a Magus Tower to welcome all the powerful magic casters. They held a high social position in the empire, so humans were in awe of them. Although Chaos City was not under the administration of the Roth Empire, humans were still living peacefully here with the powerful country behind them. Other customers were looking at Crossu with respect as the old man in robe performed his magic. Then they took a look at Amy. Such an interesting magic. This little girl must love it. Can your snowmen sing? Amy asked as she shrugged, watching the dancing little men. She wasn't quite impressed. Ugly Duckling also took a look, and then it drew back its head disappointedly. boredom written all over its face. Sing. Krasa was taken aback. I can make them do more difficult tricks, but sing? I got beaten by my master many times for failing to articulate spells, he thought as he watched his dancing snowmen. Then he shook his head with a smile. They have been conjured up by magic. They can't sing. Amy's question made other customers widen their eyes in surprise. She's not happy with that? It's asking too much to make them sing. They were conjured up by magic. It's just impossible. The old man has said it himself. Amy shook her head. But mine can. Besides, your snowmen are ugly, she said as she looked scornfully at those faceless snowmen before Krasu. The old man was unconvinced. Your little man can sing and dance? No, that's impossible, he said, shaking his head. The looks on other customers' faces said they didn't believe Amy either. It's impossible, unless there is a hidden Lilliput on this continent. Mag made a faint smile in the kitchen. He was pretty satisfied with his anti-deception teaching and felt happier now that his little girl was getting ready to flaunt her new toy. Well, I guess I'll have to show you, Amy said helplessly. She crouched down, took the music box out, and put it on the counter softly. Behold, the singing little girl father has conjured up for me. They all craned their necks to get a better look. The moment they saw the music box, their eyes lit up immediately. It's so pretty, exclaimed a girl not far from the counter, her mouth slightly open. On top of an exquisite wooden box was hemispherical crystal glass, inside which stood a fair elf holding a musical instrument. It was so beautiful that they couldn't avert their eyes at it novel Benet. Whoa! The looks on their faces were almost the same. It was not a shining toy, but the sight of the transparent crystal cover that had no impurities whatsoever was enough to make them gasp in wonder. He used a piece of crystal glass to make a toy for his daughter. Talk about spoiling. That's simply unimaginable. Now the dancing snowmen before the old man were a little ordinary compared to the elf in a purple dress, and even their lovely dancing had become a little silly. Krasa took a look at the music box. He didn't conjure that up. He was very confident because there was no trace of magic wave around it. Looks like he lied to his girl again. But he didn't expose his lies. He wasn't averse to his ways. He understood it was not easy for a man to raise a child alone. It can sing? Krasu asked in doubt. There's no magic wave, so obviously that puppet elf can't sing or dance. They were all gazing at it curiously. It's absolutely stunning. She said it could sing. We'll wait and see. Of course. Amy pushed the little button on the side. Colorful light around the edge flickered, and then the melody started. A little girl goes to collect mushrooms. The elf girl started playing the violin while rotating. She looked so lifelike, as if she were real. That's impossible. Krasa's eyes widened as he watched the little elf. He could sense trace amounts of energy wave, but he was sure it was not magic. If it's not magic, how can this puppet girl sing and dance? He had said so confidently that Amy's toy couldn't sing, but she could not only sing, she sang very well, like a bird, as if a real elf were singing merrily. He became a little embarrassed. He had lived for quite a long time and hadn't commented much since he passed 100. Who would have thought that he would strike out here? If his hide hadn't grown thicker as he grew older, he might have taken off his robe and sunk into the ground with shame. It was so embarrassing. He lowered his eyes, wishing this little episode would blow over. They wouldn't embarrass an old man too much, I hope. It really can sing and sing so beautifully. Is this a child's song? Why haven't I ever heard it before? The girl nearby said with surprise and doubt as she listened to the music. It's a merry song, and the words are encouraging kids to work and share. It should be one of the popular songs. It's strange that I don't know it, she thought. Amy turned it off. White-bearded grandpa, Mushroom Fairy can sing and dance. Aren't your snowmen a little dull? She asked seriously, looking at Krasu. Now they were all staring at Krasu with strange looks on their faces. It was not very decent to laugh at an old magic caster, but Mag couldn't refrain from smiling, because the old man had fared so miserably against Amy's toy when he tried to impress her with his magic. Now how would he respond to her question? Sarger's shoulders shook wildly in his effort to hold back his laughter. He covered his mouth to smother his voice, but still a snort of amusement came bursting out through his nose without his permission. He might have guffawed if he hadn't known better. The customers nearby glanced at the demon, who was easily amused and had terrifying laughter, and changed their seats to stay away from Sargeras, even if they had to share a table with strangers. Despite his thick hide, Crossa gave a dry smile and abashment as he felt the stares. When he was about to say something to put an end to this awkward moment, Mag put a plate of fried rice before him. "Your Yangzhou fried rice," he said, smiling. Crossa's eyes lit up immediately when he saw Mag. "How did you conjure up such an interesting little elf?" he asked. He was using Mag to shift their uncomfortable gaze. Besides, he was indeed very curious about this toy. "It shouldn't be magic because I can't sense any around it. But if it's not magic, how can it sing? It's impossible for it to move by itself," Crossa thought. Other customers were afire with curiosity by then. They were all staring at Mag, wondering, who the hell is he? Not only can he cook, he is able to conjure up such an exquisite toy. Is he really a powerful magic caster? This is not usual magic. There are other things involved. It's difficult to explain in detail. "I'm afraid maybe you can't understand," Mag answered. "You might be right," Crossa said, feeling a little despised. Yet when he opened his mouth, the words would not come. He found Mag might have a point. He had been dealing with magic all his life, so he knew little about other things. Even his social skills were awful. As such a powerful magic caster, he should have had geniuses lining up at his door asking to become his disciples. But in fact, he had to travel long and far to look for a disciple at such an old age. To make matters worse, he had been ridiculed for his effort to check a restaurateur's daughter's talent. Seeing that the old man didn't intend to ask more questions, Mag turned to walk towards the kitchen. He had prepared many mechanical theories for his questions. Although they were just something he had learned in college, it should prove more than effective to impress the people here. He had graduated from one of the top 20 engineering universities in the world. Amy gave Mag a sweet smile, quite proud of herself. Mag looked down at his greasy hands and didn't stroke Amy's hair. He smiled back, eyes full of fondness, and went into the kitchen. Amy's response had been impeccable. She had done everything Mag had taught her and more. She might have made Crossa doubt himself. Harrison looked at Mag's back. "Magic caster or not, Mag is incredible," he said as he took a bite of his Rigiamo, his fat shaking. "Agreed." George nodded, his fat shaking as well. "I wonder if Mag will sell that. Palmer would be happy to see it," he muttered, staring at the music box in spite of himself. Other customers took a glance at the two fatties, whose fat were dancing wildly, and nodded thoughtfully. "Mag is truly incredible." Sargeras managed to hold back his laughter. He felt even hungrier. Once he would have shouted at the owner and threatened to smash the restaurant. But today, he was waiting patiently. After all, even a 10th-tier magic caster had to suck it up here. He might be grumpy, but he hadn't gotten into any big trouble journeying 50 years on this continent. He was pretty reasonable, actually. When other customers were enjoying their meals and stopped paying attention to him, Crossa took several bites of his fried rice and gazed at Amy, who was stroking the kitten's head while staring at the little elf in the music box. He started scheming again. After he thought a moment, Crossa looked at Amy and smiled. "Little girl, what we have just talked about doesn't matter. What really matters is that someday bad things might happen, whether they be an act of God or an act of man. At moments like those, the powerful ones can protect themselves and their loved ones. I, for one, have such power. Do you not want to learn magic to protect the ones you love?" Amy thought for a moment and turned to look at Mag in the kitchen. "I want to protect my father," she said, with determined eyes at it novel been at. "Meow," cried out Ugly Duckling as it lifted its head, trying to remind Amy of its existence. "You're not included," Amy said, pushing its little head down. "Meow, meow," the kitten cried out disappointedly in a soft voice, as if it had been wounded. "That's right," said Crossa, nodding with a smile. "If you want to protect someone, you have to be powerful yourself. And you will be if you learn from me." He was trying to make himself look like a kind, reliable master. Although he had said some similar words yesterday and got rejected directly by Mag, he really wanted to make sure whether or not Amy had the talent. If she was really talented and fit to be his disciple, he would do his best to gratify Mag's requirements. He would be dead in several years, so there was little he cared about. Amy nodded. I think you're right. But before Crossu could smile, Amy added doubtfully, but white-bearded grandpa, you can't even walk with ease. You can't protect yourself. And you want to teach me to protect my father? Protect him from whom? Kids like me? Well, the look on Cross's face became odd again. What's going on in her head? Why is she not like other kids? Besides, do I look like I can only protect his father from kids? Crossu raised an eyebrow. He had fought an orc when he was only 18. He had smashed his staff on the head of a giant dragon when he was 24. It was a weak green dragon, though, but he was at his peak after all. He would never harm a child. If you don't trust me, you can use any magic on me. I'll just sit here and won't move, Crossu said confidently as he slapped his chest. Crossu and Amy's conversation once more caught others' attention. Some customers had seen Amy use her magic on Sargeras. Even a lava demon was almost burnt by that little fireball. And now the old man will just sit there and won't move? Maybe he shouldn't let his guard down like that. Do you see the small purplish gold staff on his robe? If I remember right, only those who serve the Roth Empire have that on their robes, said a middle-aged human male who was dressed like a businessman, in shock. He was staring at the old man's left shoulder, on which a pinky-sized staff in purplish gold was embroidered. Yes, this old magic caster serves the Empire, said his dinner companion, a little surprised as he gazed at the emblem. It was the highest honor for a human magic caster. No one dared to impersonate one. The people nearby overheard their words. They all looked to Cross's shoulder. Most of them might have not seen a magic caster who served the Empire before, but they had heard many stories about them. After Alex was killed in battle, for so long the army of the Empire hadn't seen one griffin rider who was able to kill a dragon by himself. These years, when evil dragons attacked towns and cities of the Empire, more often than not, those magic casters serving the Empire would show up to fight them with their powerful magic. They brought peace to the people and earned more of their love and respect. They were all 8-tier magic casters and above. They were very powerful and had done much for the Empire. If this white-robed old man serves the Empire, then he is at least an honorable 8th-tier magic caster, the customers thought. He is a senior magic caster that should be respected by most of his peers, but he got made fun of by Amy several times. Judging by the words he said, he probably wants to take Amy in as his disciple, but apparently she's not very interested. Since when is it so hard for an 8th-tier magic caster to find a disciple? They wondered. Amy is little and doesn't know much, but Mag owns such a multicultural restaurant, so it's impossible for him not to recognize that purplish gold staff. Mag's calmness after Crossu implied his intention surprised them even more. Maybe that old man isn't good enough for Mag. Maybe he is a more powerful magic caster, they thought. Now that they had figured out who the old man was, they felt they could see the result of his little game with Amy. He is a royal magic caster, and she is a restaurateur's daughter who can barely walk. They are utterly different in social position and power. Amy can't possibly hurt him even if he doesn't move, they thought. He is clearly above the 8th tier if he can beat a dragon with a fireball. He's reached the 9th tier. Or the 10th, Sargeras thought. He still remembered the scene outside of Rodu as if it were yesterday. The look on his face became a little strange when he saw Amy. But even a 10th tier magic caster might suffer if he took her fireball lightly like I did in the morning. Her fireball is small, but its power is huge. Its temperature is even higher than my flames. She has such an incredible talent at such a young age. If I were a magic caster, I might want her to become my disciple as well. Cross's request really intrigued Amy. White-bearded grandpa, are you serious? She asked incredulously. My fireball might make you kick the bucket. Yes. Little girl, don't hold back and don't worry about me, Cross said confidently. If I can't stand your fireball, I guess I can only fight little children from now on. Amy's worry warmed his heart. He was even happier now that he knew Amy could use fireball magic. Turns out she can use magic despite her 2 bloodlines. She's trainable, but I have to see her magic first to assess her talent. Actually, I just don't want to burn the chair and table, said Amy, casting a worried look at the table before Crossu. For a moment, Crossu didn't know what look he should use to express how he was feeling. He had never thought that he would be less important than a table and chair. Don't worry, I'll pay for everything you burn, he said disappointedly in depression at it novel banat. Amy nodded. Well, since you have requested so sincerely, I guess I have to grant your wish. Why would anyone ask for this? She said, the look on her face seeming like she were looking at a naughty child. She put ugly duckling aside and looked at Krasu. Scream if you can't stand it, she advised. Krasu shook his head. That will never happen. He looked so relaxed, like a real master. Then here it comes, Amy warned, looking at Krasu. She held out her little hand, and suddenly a flame appeared and contracted into a bluish-violet little fireball quickly. She threw it at the old man. Krasu's eyes went wide as he watched the flame. Such pure magic. The fireball doesn't have any other magic elements. It's small, but it has tremendous power. Of course, Amy's fireball was no more than a spark to him, but the spark had ignited infinite possibilities. She's only 3 or 4, and she has mastered the fireball magic all by herself without any guidance. She doesn't need any spells or time to perform her magic, no less. And she has figured out how to throw it out. She is just the kind of genius I've been searching for. Most importantly, he liked this simple and violent fireball magic the best. His fireball magic was the fastest and the most powerful on the whole Norland Continent, if nothing else. No one disputed that. After all, he could use his fireballs to fight dragons and send them scurrying away. No other man could do that on this continent. In the split second when he was thinking, the fireball landed on his long beard. It started burning immediately. Shoot! Krasu cried out, startled. He rose hurriedly to his feet and ran towards the door, not caring what he had just said, his beard in flames. The customers had been expecting Krasu to stop Amy's fireball with ease like a master. Instead, they witnessed the old magic caster scuttling towards the door with his beard on fire. The air became a little awkward as a smell of singeing hair permeated the room. Alas, I guess white-bearded Grandpa's power can only be used to fight kids, Amy said regretfully like a lonely master, drawing back her hand. She waved at her kitten and was ready to play with it. Ugly Duckling had run to the other end of the counter. After it made sure that no fireball was in Amy's hand, it ran to her and positioned itself comfortably in her arms. The embarrassing silence was broken. Amy and her kitten brought smile to customers' faces. That magic caster might get angry now that his beard was burnt. Mag's restaurant may not be able to stand his anger, they thought. Sargeras nodded contentedly. She shouldn't be taken lightly. Even a 10th-tier magic caster would be taken by surprise. He felt better now because someone else had made the same mistake as him, and that someone else was stronger than him. Mag turned to look in the direction of the door, frowning. He wasn't worried about the old man getting angry because he had requested it himself, and he had come here to check out Amy's talent. He was worried that if Amy's talent caught his attention, he would come here every day, pestering him. It seemed he was already doing that, though. Anyway, he would never let Amy go to Rodu. Krasu opened the door and rushed out. He pointed his finger at his beard, and a water ball exploded right away. The bluish-violet flame that was burning along his beard was put out in an instant. Water splashed on the ground and his white robe, along with some burnt beard. He cut quite a sorry figure. He should have got depressed and angry. Instead, he was delirious with joy. He tilted his head back and laughed aloud like a madman. Other customers stopped laughing and looked to the door, worried. His beard is ruined. Has he gone mad? If he got angry, he might burn the restaurant to the ground. He doesn't look very stable right now. Has white-bearded Grandpa gone crazy? I shouldn't have burned his beard. I don't know if he can grow it back, Amy said regretfully as she looked to the door. If he can't, I'll have to find a new nickname for him. Krasu's weird laughter didn't last long, because he soon realized he was a little out of control. He straightened his face and reached out to stroke his beard, only to be shocked that it was not there anymore. He looked down and found that his white beard, which had been over 20 centimeters long, was now burnt to half the length. Its bottom had been miserably blackened. He had been growing his beard for decades and maintaining it every day. He strictly controlled its length. Even losing only one hair of his beard would make him grieve for a while. And now it was ruined. If the person who had done this to him were not Amy, he would definitely smash 3 holes in his head with his staff. Even if it were a dragon, added novel banat. But it was Amy. Plus, he had asked for it sincerely, and he had assured her that he would be okay. It was his own doing. He could blame no one but himself. He was feeling aggrieved, but what could he do? Then he recovered quickly. Well, I can't blame my precious disciple. She has such a great talent. Even if she could only use fireball magic, she would achieve perfection in using it under my guidance. I'll make her my disciple. His heart raced without his permission as he thought about Amy's fireball. He had walked for more than 6 months after he left Rodu and went south, and had seen a number of geniuses, but they weren't exactly what he had in mind. The moment Amy unleashed her fireball, he knew he had found the disciple he had been looking for. The best disciple for him. His smile returned. He waved his hand and used cleaning magic on himself. His robe got cleaned right away, but he couldn't recover his beard anytime soon. He pushed the door open and walked back in. That old man values his beard more than his life. Urian muttered to himself as he stood at his door, watching Krasu enter the kitchen. His beard was ruined, but he was laughing. Looks like the little girl has a better talent than I've expected. I have to act quickly, or she'll become his disciple. I'll rob him of her. That old man always has a discerning eye. The customers had been worried that Krasu would retaliate in fury. They had thought he would at least storm in and shout with anger. So, they were taken aback when they saw the old man walk in with a smile and his shortened beard. He is not mad? Amy watched as Krasu resumed his seat. Before he could say anything, she said seriously, "You don't need to say anything, half-beard grandpa. I think I can teach you how to defeat children. If you truly want to learn, I can give you a discount." Sargeras guffawed despite himself. He was drinking water he had brought along, and the water was coming out of his mouth. A 10th-tier magic caster, who could beat a dragon with one fireball, was being ridiculed by a 4-year-old girl, and she was offering to teach him how to defeat little kids. He had never seen anything so amusing in 50 years. Other customers were shocked and didn't join in his laughing. They were all staring at him. The 2 customers who were sitting at a nearby table moved a little further away from him. To be sure, they also found Amy's remarks amusing, but they knew better than to laugh at a royal magic caster. They didn't want to taste the wrath of his fireball. In the Roth Empire, it was clearly stated in the rules that royal magic casters had the right to punish anyone who insulted them and wouldn't be charged with a crime. People in Chaos City didn't have to abide by the rules of the Roth Empire. However, once, a royal magic caster had been insulted by someone from another species, and he had killed him on the spot. The Roth Empire had resolutely protected him, and he had left Chaos City safe and sound. White-bearded Grandpa had become half-beard Grandpa, and he got scorned by her. Krasa had no choice but to bite back his words. He blushed as he thought about what he had just said, and turned to give Sargeras a glare. Sargeras was a little scared, but he couldn't help laughing. He had been holding back his laughter, but Amy's words had completely set it off. He lowered his head to avoid Krasa's eyes and kept laughing with his mouth covered. His shoulders were shaking violently. Never had he seen anything so funny for decades. Half-beard Grandpa, don't scare Big Bald Head. If he got angry, he might burn away the rest of your beard. Then you'd become Beardless Grandpa, Amy warned, looking at the old man. Krasa turned to Amy with a big smile and said in a soft voice, "It was just an accident. I can use fireball magic as well. And mine is bigger and more." "Your second Yongzhou fried rice," Mag interrupted, putting the plate in front of the old magic caster. "I have told you, Amy is so little, I'm not going to let her leave me to study magic. If she likes to, I'll find her a teacher to teach her here," he said solemnly. Before the customers had recovered from the shock of Krasa's calmness, Mag's rejecting him shocked them even more. Sounds like it's not the first time that Mag has rejected him. She must be real talented if she could make the old magic caster come down off his high horse to try to bait her behind Mag's back. Mag turn him down? Harrison said as he gaped at Mag, mouth open. It would bring a great honor to his family if she became a royal magic caster's disciple. Every year, numerous people went to great lengths to send their children to that tower in Rodu. They were happy even if their children could be accepted only as servants. They were counting on the chance that someday their kids might catch a magic caster's eye. The old man has offered to take Amy on as his disciple, and Mag turned him down because he doesn't want Amy to leave his side. Harrison didn't understand. I find it very natural. If I had such a cute girl, I'd do the same, George said adamantly as he looked at Mag. No one could take her away from me, not even a royal magic caster. Yes, I will never leave my father, Amy said to Krasu, nodding seriously. Half-beard Grandpa, I can teach you when I have time if you really want to learn. I have to collect money now. I'm very busy. Krasa took a look at Mag, who was so determined, and then at Amy, who had shown great interest in becoming his master. I think I'd better finish this rice before it gets cold. He picked up the spoon quietly and got back to his fried rice, frowning thoughtfully. He had planned to take Amy back to the Magus Tower to teach her there. The tower had been constantly repaired and improved by the royalty. Other than Elves' secret dreamland, it was the perfect place to learn magic. Those magic rooms would make learning faster, added novel Benadat. But it seems Mag is very determined to keep Amy at his side. He is pretty wealthy, so money won't sway him. He has excellent cooking skills, but he chose to stay in Chaos City, so he probably doesn't care much about the advantages he might get from the Roth Empire. And he hasn't shown any interest in my magic, thought Krasu. These three advantages he had seemed worthless to Mag. Above all, he loved Amy more than anything. Krasu was a little upset. He didn't know what he had to do to change Mag's mind. Mag took a glance at Krasu, who stopped badgering Amy and turned to walk into the kitchen. He had been a little worried after Krasu had revealed who he was. After all, he had no chance against such a powerful magic caster. The fact that Amy could burn his beard was mainly because he had been absent-minded for a moment, and because he hadn't taken her seriously. Amy was to Krasu as an ant was to an elephant. Fortunately, Krasu seems quite reasonable. He hasn't forced us to comply with his power and social position. Still, I will never let Amy go to that dangerous tower alone, Mag thought. This little episode blew over after Krasu started eating again. The old man hadn't escalated it, so it was more like a joke between him and Amy. Today's customers had made sure that the owner's girl was a badass. She even dares to burn a royal magic caster's beard. We definitely must pay after eating. Those that had been served became lost in the good food quickly, enjoying the pleasant taste. The inviting aroma and the delighted looks on their faces made many of those that had entered out of curiosity order a plate in spite of themselves. They wanted to try this appetizing dish, even if they could barely afford it. Mag put 3 Ruggiamos before Sargeras and warned the nearby customers to stay away from him. He didn't want the demon scaring his customers. Sure enough, a ball of flame came out of his mouth after he took a large bite of Ruggiamo. His lava was burning red, and flames arose from his body. Luckily, he had learned he was sitting on the iron chair he had brought along, far from the table and the wall. The only part that wasn't on fire was his Ruggiamo holding hand. Other customers watched him in fright as he wolfed down his food. Mag, I'd like 2 plates of Yangzhou fried rice to go, please. Both my wife and kids like your fried rice, George said with a smile as he took his second Ruggiamo. Mag shook his head. I'm sorry, but right now, one person can only have 1 plate of food to go because I have to serve the customers eating here first. More and more new customers were arriving, and he had a mission to accomplish, so he had to limit the takeout food. I see, George said. He had promised his wife and kids that he would bring supper for them. His wife might come down hard on him if he brought only 1 plate back. 2 of his kids, who could already eat, had eaten some fried rice at lunchtime from their mother's, Miranda's, plate, and they had pestered him to bring some for their supper. Mag, I'd like 1 plate of Yangzhou fried rice to go as well. Just 1, Harrison said with a smile as he took a bite of his Ruggiamo, winking at George. Mag nodded. All right, please wait a sec. He turned to walk to the kitchen. He had seen Harrison's winking, but it was not against his rules, so he said nothing. It was common between friends, and he understood. After Mag went into the kitchen, Harrison smiled at his friend. Parmer and Parber also like this Yangzhou fried rice, right? He asked. Yes, they like it so much. Even Angus wanted to try it, but his teeth are just starting to grow, so he can only eat eggs. Mentioning George's children brought a radiant smile to his face. Harrison nodded, smiling. Then bring mine to them. Say hello for me, and tell them I'll take them to the stud farm someday. George nodded. Thank you. I will. They're always talking about your 2 white horses. Then they changed their subject to the stud farm. Harrison's family had invested in a stud farm. He had invited George to join to buy more horses and enlarge the farm. He wanted to make it big enough for racing horses, like the ones in Rodu. Krasa finished his fried rice quietly. He was a little upset. He hadn't figured out how to sway Mag. He had some old friends here in Chaos City, but he didn't want to trouble them with such an embarrassing problem. Besides, his friends would probably use knife and gold to persuade Mag. He didn't want his precious disciple to learn unwillingly, because he knew very well that learning magic was a dull process, even with enthusiasm. Half-beard Grandpa, don't be so sad. I can't come with you to a faraway place to teach you fireball magic, but I can teach you here. You can leave when you have mastered it, Amy said solemnly to Krasu. Whitebeard Grandpa looks so pitiful now that his beard has been burnt by me. He has to use his staff to help him walk, and his magic is terrible. I worry about him. Krasa's eyes lit up while Amy looked at him with pity. He had a moment of clarity. I don't have to teach her in the tower. Maybe Mag will say yes this time. But I'll have to make some alterations to the plan. I'll have them ship some equipment from Rodu for me. The thought brought a smile to his face again. Little girl, may I have the check? He pulled out 2 dragon coins from his pocket and put them on the table softly. Yes, 12 gold coins, please. Amy took the 2 dragon coins and handed 8 gold coins to Krasu. Here, 8 gold coins. She glanced at him, surprised that he feels so happy because he can learn from me. Goodbye, little girl. Krasa took the coins and walked towards the door with his staff, smiling. It may be a little difficult this way, but I don't want to live in that tower anymore. I've lived there all my life. It's not an uplifting place, and he used to call it Coffin Tower, Krasa thought. However, here I can almost smell freedom in the air. More importantly, I can get good food and possibly a precious disciple. It's not a bad way to live the rest of my days. Other customers watched as Krasa walked out, wondering, why did he become so upbeat all of a sudden? Sargeras sat with his head lowered and didn't dare to meet Krasa's eyes. He had thought the old man would reprimand him, but he just glanced at him and left without a word. Sargeras breathed a sigh of relief. He scared the sh*t out of me. He glanced back and saw the old man's back. Then he got back to his Rigiamo. He could clearly feel his blood boiling, pounding at his barrier, behind which something he desired was sealed. The impact was not strong, but strong enough to ignite his hope. The possibility that he could get to another level just by eating Rigiamo intoxicated him. If it works on me, then it should work on all the lava demon warriors. Most of them haven't broken through the second barrier, so the effect on them should be stronger. Guess I should come home sometime and bring them here to try this Rigiamo. Then we can form a group to do more difficult quests to earn more money to buy Rigiamo. Sargeras nodded. We've been lying low for years. It's about time we showed them what we're really made of. He thought a moment and muttered to himself, I think I'll call it the Burning Legion. Mag had been busy for the whole dinner time. He stopped taking any orders after 9 p.m. After the few customers finished their food and left, Mag turned over the open sign and closed the door. He let out a sigh of relief. He felt a little exhausted after working for 4 hours straight. He seated himself on a chair by the door and prepared to rest for a while before cleaning. Amy walked over to him and put the kitten on the floor. Father, we sold 305 Rigiamos and 76 plates of rainbow fried rice today. That comes to 1,371 gold coins, she said as she stood on tips of her toes to pound Mag's back. Mag's eyes lit up. Oh, our earnings have doubled, he said happily. Subtract the cost for ingredients, and we've earned more than 900 gold coins. It's indeed a good choice to increase the supply of Rigiamos. Over 50 new customers had come for dinner, and most of them had arrived due to the recommendation of the regulars. Others had been drawn in by the busy atmosphere. Now he had got 260 customers. He should be able to finish his mission at this rate, added Novel Benedet. He had sold more than 400 Rigiamos in total, and only needed 2 more days to accomplish this mission. Then he could unlock tofu pudding. The thought of a bowl of steaming tofu pudding brought a smile to his lips. Dad, we've been eating Rigiamo for days. When will you make something new? Amy asked expectantly as she pounded Mag's back. Well, I'll cook you a new dish in 2 days, answered Mag with a smile, stroking Amy's head. He hesitated a moment, and then asked seriously, Amy, do you want to learn magic? Yes, I want to learn powerful magic. I want to protect Dad in case they plan on hurting you. Amy said solemnly, nodding. She reached out to grab Mag's finger. Don't worry, Father. I'll become very strong. Mag nodded, smiling. I'm sure you will. Amy's thoughtfulness made his heart ache. Mischievous kids had often mocked Mag Alex's way of walking when he limped on the road. They had even thrown stones at him. He had tried his best not to let Amy see this, but still she had seen it several times. The little girl had stood before him, crying, telling them to go away. He could still remember it like it was yesterday. Maybe that's when the idea of protecting me took root in her mind. Looking at Amy's earnest and determined face, Mag couldn't help but lift her up, hold her in his arms, and kiss her on the forehead. His nearest and dearest was always putting him first. It warmed his heart and made him feel like crying at novel ben at. Don't worry. Father will become stronger too. It should be me protecting you. You just need to be happy every day, Mag whispered in her ear. I'm not a good father, letting her carry so much. But Amy lifted her head. Mag knew what she wanted to say. He shook his head with a smile. The day after tomorrow is our rest day. We can play all day. We'll visit Chaos School to see if we can find a suitable magic caster to teach you. Amy's eyes brightened instantly. Really? She gazed at Mag with her big blue eyes, surprised. Then she became a little worried. But I promised Half-Beard Grandpa to teach him fireball magic. I don't want to be called a liar. Mag shook his head, smiling. Actually, he is a very powerful magic caster. But he wanted to take you to a far, far away place to learn magic, so I turned him down. You don't have to teach him fireball magic because he already knows how to use it. Really? But his beard got burnt by my fireball, said Amy incredulously. Mag nodded with a smile. That's because your fireball is very powerful. So, if you have to use it again, first you must consider if he or she can stand it, or they might be roasted, Mag said seriously. He was teaching her to learn to control the power she possessed. Although Amy was still small, Mag was already starting to shape her worldview. He didn't expect her to become a saint, but he didn't want her to grow up a devil, either. Kindness was a good quality, to an extent. That was what he had gradually apprehended after he got transported into this world by God. Anything could go bad without limits. One might escape the punishment of men, yet he couldn't escape the righteous judgment of God. Amy nodded earnestly. Yes, Father. Then she looked down at the little kitten, which was looking up at them. Roasted, roasted, she murmured in a low voice. Meow. Amy's words sent a chill down the kitten's back, and it flinched in fright. Go play with Ugly Duckling. If you're tired, go upstairs and sleep. I'll clean the restaurant. Mag stroked Amy's hair, smiling, and put her back on the floor. Amy shook her head. No, Ugly Duckling, Mushroom Fairy, and I will wait here. She picked up the kitten, climbed onto the long-legged chair, turned on the music box, and hummed along. Suddenly, she looked at Mag, who was wiping tables, and asked, Dad, if I sing for Teacher Luna, will she be happy? Mag nodded, smiling. Of course she will. Amy really liked Luna, but she was too young to be enrolled in Chaos School. Luna had taken the liberty of letting her in many times, though. Mag had planned to check with some teachers in the school to see if they could teach Amy some rudimentary knowledge about magic. Amy had invented fireball magic all by herself. If she didn't know the basic concepts of magic, she might not be able to control this power. He didn't want his precious little girl becoming a rascal in other people's eyes. There was big difference between innocent and wild. Amy nodded. Then I'll study harder. I'll sing for Dad and Teacher Luna, she said solemnly, and started humming along again. A smile touched Mag's lips, and he worked faster. Amy was starting to get used to saying Dad. Although sometimes she still used Father subconsciously, Mag didn't care anymore. Sometimes, he even found the sound of Father a little cute. He decided to let her use whichever she wanted. Mag cleaned the restaurant, marinated some meat to use in 3 days from now, and washed his hands. Amy was leaning on the counter, asleep, with the kitten dozing off in her arms. The music box was still playing, but its sound seemed to have become a little hoarse. Mag raised an eyebrow. System, listen to your 5,000 copper coins worth of music box. What a rip-off. It's broken in only 1 day, he said in his mind. There is no perpetual motion machine in this thing, so the acoustic quality will change when the power runs out. You just need to buy 4 A-size batteries to replace the old ones, the system said calmly. You use A-size batteries for such a fancy music box? It should come with a lithium battery and a charger. Mag complained. He could feel his vicious tongue stirring. In the detailed directions on the description page, it says clearly that the music box is powered by 4 A-size batteries. It's not my fault that you didn't read it, but I can alter it for you if you want. You have 4 choices to choose from, the system said, its voice still calm. Wait, as Mag watched the 4 choices pop up in his head, he felt he had been tricked by the system. He hadn't had time to read the directions, and the system had taken advantage of that. He felt a little annoyed. When he looked through the 4 choices, he could barely hold back his laughter. First, power source alteration. The 4 A-size batteries will be replaced by a fast-charging ultra-capacity lithium battery. 3 minutes of charging can last the music box 3 hours. If it's fully charged, it can last it 3 days. Sale price, 10 gold coins. Accessories, 1 original charger. Second, power source alteration and clothes. Apart from the same service as the first choice, you'll get 10 sets of beautiful clothes for the doll. You can change its clothes just by pushing a button. Sale price, 20 gold coins. The last 2 ones could even upgrade the music box into a holographic projection device, and their prices were 100 and 200 gold coins, respectively. Mag lifted an eyebrow. System, can I swear? I'd sooner buy a new one. You don't want to do that. If you insult me, you may trigger hidden missions, the system said seriously at a novel Bennett ad. Fine. You son of a gun. Mag nodded. He was a little tempted to choose the 4th one, a holographic projection device, and the doll would be able to perform many dances. But the price made him hesitate. I choose the first one, he said at last. Money was of paramount importance right now. Amy was still very interested in the music box, and she hadn't learned the first song, so it wasn't necessary to upgrade it to a holographic projection device. 10 gold coins has been deducted. Alteration is in progress, and will be finished in 5 minutes. The battery will be fully charged after the alteration, said the system. Mag took a look at the counter. The music box had disappeared. I don't need to wait here, since the system will charge it for me. He grabbed the cat, slowly picked Amy up, and walked up the stairs softly. Amy was sleeping soundly. Mag didn't want to wake her up. He put the 2 little things on the bed, and then went downstairs to turn off the light. After he washed up, Mag walked over to the crib. Amy's sleeping face put a smile on his lips. He had never thought that he would get such a cute little girl. This transportation had been meant to be a punishment, but he found it so rewarding now. He had many beautiful expectations and dreams of the future. The restaurant is a start. I'll blend into Chaos City and then this multi-species world. Mag woke up early in the morning. He kicked off his busy day with preparing ingredients. It was only when he became an owner of a restaurant that he realized how early the restaurants providing breakfast had to prepare in advance, and he didn't even have to buy fresh ingredients himself. Today's business was even better than yesterday. The fact that his Rigiamo could help lose weight was really catching on. So many fat customers came today. The most eye-catching ones were 8 rich ladies. They came together, and their bodies were even more marvelous than those of Harrison and his friends. Mag worried about his chairs when they took their seats. Luckily, the chairs, which were 10 gold coins each, withstood their test. It was quite a view when they ate their Rigiamos. The nearby customers gaped at them, mouths open. It was too good a scene for Mag to look at. Mag, the screen says that the number of days before your rest day is 1. Do you not open tomorrow? A customer asked as he took a Rigiamo from Mag's hand. No, we don't. We have a rest day every week. We've opened for 6 days, so tomorrow is our rest day, Mag answered, smiling. He had lost count of how many times he had answered that question. I see. I guess I can't take my wife and children here tomorrow, he said disappointedly. Then he thought for a moment, and added, your business is so good, and even 1 day means a lot of money. Some customers might not come again if they came here only to find you were closed. Other restaurants open all year long. Can you adjust? He's right. Mag, your food has made me unable to eat anything else. I would be starved to death tomorrow. Mag, we come here every day. Don't do this to us. Other customers echoed his sentiment. They had grown too addicted to Mag's food to let him rest one day. They were persuading and even threatening him. Mag shook his head. You won't die of hunger in one day. It's our rule to have a rest day every week. We only have one cook here, me, and I need time to attend to other business, so we can't open all year long. He rejected them directly. The customers traded unhappy glances. Mag was pretty adamant, unlike other restaurateurs who always worried about losing regulars when taking a rest day. They would stay in their restaurant all day long if they could. They were not as self-willed as Mag. They knew very well that Mag had been strictly sticking to his opening hours. They knew that he wouldn't open a minute earlier even if dozens were waiting outside, and that he wouldn't cook another plate after 9 even if many were still hungry. So, they were just clutching at straws. After the last customer walked out, Mag closed the door and sighed with relief. Finally, he could rest tomorrow. He could understand their wanting to eat delicious food every day, but Amy always came first. He could care less about their unhappiness. They should be grateful that I only rest one day every week, he thought. Today, he and Amy profited almost the same amount as yesterday. It was the best they could do. Now he only needed to sell another 300 Rigiamos to complete his Rigiamo mission. He could do it in one day after the rest. Amy didn't notice the difference in the music box. Now she was able to sing the whole song if she sang along with the elf. She was indeed very talented when it came to music. The next morning, Amy woke up early. She climbed down her crib and got on Mag's bed. "Father, we're going to the school to see Teacher Luna today, right?" she asked, excited. Mag, who didn't have to be woken up by the alarm clock today, opened his sleepy eyes and met Amy's big, clear eyes. She had pulled the curtain open a bit. He glanced at the clock. It was already 8 a.m. He hadn't slept so well for days. Mag nodded, smiling. "Yes, we don't have to work today. We'll go out after breakfast." He sat up, picked Amy up, and tickled her. She giggled. Amy also waved her short arms to try to tickle her father. Their laughter resounded through the house. Meow, meow, the kitten jumped around on the floor. It even tried to rear up on its hind legs to see what was going on, but its short legs were not helping. It cried out unhappily. It had been kicked out of bed again. Mag held Amy in his arms and stood up. "Rise and shine. Time to go. What do you want to wear? How do you want me to comb your hair?" he asked, smiling. Amy thought for a moment. "I want to wear my hair in 2 braids and wear that purple dress with flowers on the chest and the white shoes." "Will I look like Mushroom Fairy?" she asked, looking at Mag. Mag nodded with a smile. "Yes, you'll be more adorable than Mushroom Fairy. You'll be a fairy yourself." He got out of bed, found Amy's little dress, and helped her put it on. Then he did her hair into 2 pigtails skillfully. After days of practicing, he had got really dexterous at handling her hair. Amy still liked the pigtails and showed no intention of changing her hairstyle, so Mag had no chance to show his hairdressing skills. Amy put on her white shoes and spun in a circle. "Father, do I look beautiful?" she asked as she looked at Mag. Mag's eyes lit up. "Yes, you're such a pretty little fairy," he answered, nodding that she's even prettier than the elf in the music box. Meow. Ugly Duckling walked over to Amy. It rubbed its little head against her calf. It was a little upset because no one had paid any attention to its cries. "Ugly Duckling, the dress would be wasted on you. You won't look any better in it," she sighed, stooping down to pick the kitten up. Meow, meow. Ugly Duckling lifted its paws up and widened its eyes as it cried out, trying to prove its cuteness. "You look even uglier now." Amy forced its head to one side in disgust. Meow. The kitten looked away, its eyes watery. Mag shook his head, smiling. Another master would have grown very fond of such a cute orange cat, but not Amy. She is teasing it every day and thinking of it as her future roast goose at Novel Benedat. Mag washed up, brushed his teeth, and went downstairs. Several customers were leaning on his window, looking inside. Their faces lit up when they saw Mag. Then came the sound of knocking. Mag frowned. "System, do you have any window shades?" He felt he had to cover his window during closed hours. Their watching made him uncomfortable. "You don't have the right to make me change the layout of the restaurant right now," the system said solemnly. "You'll have to upgrade the restaurant to LV2 first." Then I'll change it for you for free to a certain degree. Measure the size of the floor-to-ceiling window for me, please, Mag said calmly. It's 6.5 meters long and 3.6 meters tall, answered the system quickly. Mag nodded. Then I'd like a right-size window shade and tools to hang it up. I'll say it again. You don't have the right to make me change the layout of the restaurant for you right now, it said seriously. When did I ask you to change the restaurant for me? I just want to buy it. Don't be so overzealous in this kind of stuff. Aren't you a respectable food system? Mag said sarcastically, his mouth twisting. An ellipsis went across Mag's head. Then it said solemnly, I'm a respectable system. I don't have any window shades. 5 gold coins? Mag asked in a calm voice. I'm a respectable system, the system repeated. Mag raised an eyebrow. 6 gold coins. If you don't want to sell, I'll buy a bamboo curtain on the street. It's as good as any. His voice was still calm. The system fell silent, seeming to be agonizing over it. After a while, it asked tentatively, a little more? No way. Mag curled his upper lip. And it calls itself a respectable system. Pay me 4 more gold coins, and I'll give you a window shade that best matches the restaurant. It's totally automatic. It will block all the unwanted prying eyes and become hidden when you pull it up. A set of tools will come free with the window shade to help you punch holes accurately. It's very easy to install. I'm sure you'll like it. The system made an enticing offer. Mag shook his head in disappointment. No thanks. It's too heavy. I can't even lift it up, to say nothing of installing it. I guess I'll go find a better seller who would deliver and install it for me. The system fell silent again. Amy took a look at the people who were leaning on the window and knocking at their door, and didn't understand. Dad, there are customers waiting outside. Isn't today our rest day? She asked as she looked up at Mag. Yes, it is. We don't open today, but they still want to eat here, said Mag, smiling. Sit. I'll bring you a glass of water, and then make breakfast for us. He turned to walk towards the kitchen. It's very clear on the signboard. I'll have to explain it to the customers when we leave. They may not be happy to hear it, though. Mag didn't rush to push the silent system. It was impossible for him to install such a big window shade all by himself. However, he would have to explain away the automatic design if he asked for help. It was best if the system would install it for him. Amy turned to take a look at her father. Why won't they let father rest one day? Besides, we are to see teacher Luna today, she muttered to herself. Then she clenched her little fist and walked to the door with the kitten in her arms. Outside their door still stood a dozen customers. Some of them hadn't heard Mag's explanation yesterday, and others had come here on the off chance that Mag might open because of so many customers coming. Yet it was already past the opening time, and the door was still closed. They saw the rest day countdown on the screen. Some customers left after waiting for a long while. After all, they wouldn't let a breakfast mess up all their arrangements for the day. Those who had come a long way to arrive here refused to leave without their food, so over 10 people remained. They decided to say something flattering or menacing if necessary, to make Mag at least cook 1 Ruggiamo for them each. Sargeras was among the crowd. He had been very lucky to find a more difficult quest yesterday. He had killed 3 flamingos and had been rewarded with 80 gold coins. He wanted to use some of the money to buy breakfast because he didn't come across a quest like that every day. Besides, he had been lucky to finish his quest in such a short time. He had to change his plan of eating 10 Ruggiamos every meal to eating 5. He had heard Mag's explanation yesterday, but he wanted to come here to try his luck before going to the guild to find a quest. He was standing at the back of the crowd and didn't hurry to walk to the door. When they heard Mag's footsteps coming downstairs, they all looked to the door with great expectations. They were hoping their enthusiasm would change his mind. Ding! The door opened slowly. They looked down and saw Amy's long face and the kitten, disappointed. We don't open today. Father and I are going to visit teacher Luna. If you want to eat the delicious rainbow fried rice and Ruggiamo, come back tomorrow. Then Amy's face darkened as she lifted her hand. And if you knock again, I'll set you on fire. I'm very bad-tempered. The crowd became hushed. They looked at one another, and then at Amy, who was holding her little fist up as the kitten curled up in her arms. She narrowed her eyes and pouted her lips to try to look menacing, and they bit back their words when they saw this. I'd better get going. She looks so cute even when she's angry. Sargeras turned around and left after he glanced at Amy. Looks like I have to settle for some roasted meat. I'll try to find a difficult quest again today. I have to work hard to earn enough money to eat 10 Ruggiamos every meal. A girl couldn't help but laugh out. She is so adorable. Some customers had seen Amy burn a lava demon in a royal magic caster's beard. They knew that the magic caster hadn't got angry and wanted to take her on as his disciple. So, Amy's threatening words worked out pretty well. After all, she even dared to burn a demon, and they were not as strong as the latter. They hesitated for a moment and left when they saw the demon leave without a word. Mag really means what he says, one customer said. And it's pretty smart to let his girl handle this situation. I'm very upset, but I just can't get angry. It's so annoying. He sighed and then smiled. Yes, I've walked over 20 minutes to get here, another one said. But it's not easy for him to run a restaurant all by himself. He loves his daughter, so it's quite understandable for him to want to spend more time with her. Several remaining customers, who didn't know what was going on, looked at the adamant Amy, and then at those who had left without hesitation. They paused for a moment and took their leave. Mag smiled when he came out, holding a glass of water. Such a great little helper that he had thought about how to explain it to them to make them feel better, and had thought that it might take him a while to talk them out of eating here today. He had never expected that Amy's threats would save him so much trouble. Amy's smile returned when she turned to Mag. I have sent them away, Dad. They fear me when I get angry, she said with a look saying she was waiting for her father to praise her. Smiling, Mag nodded. Yes, Amy is amazing. You've helped me a lot. He said the little thing was more cute than angry just now, and those customers have fallen for her cuteness. Amy nodded happily. Thank you, Dad. I'll help you more. She took the glass and drank some water. Then she looked down at the kitten in her arms. Father, are we taking Ugly Duckling with us? It's so ugly, it might scare Teacher Luna. Can I leave it at home? Meow, meow. The kitten cried out immediately, looking up at Amy, its eyes imploring and unhappy. Mag shook his head. Ugly Duckling hasn't eaten anything yet, so we'll take it with us and buy some milk for it on our way there, he said. And I think Miss Field will like it. The kitten is only a little bigger than a grown man's palm. It's a cute little orange cat. Maybe the name Ugly Duckling left a bad first impression on her, so she finds it ugly. But she's been pretty nice to it these days. Amy nodded. Oh. Then she turned to her cat. You must cover your face when we meet Teacher Luna. I don't want you to scare her or those little kids, she warned. Ugly Duckling nodded eagerly, trying to look like it had understood. After breakfast, Mag found a little basket that the herb collector had given him and put the baby bottle and a soft towel in it, so that Amy could use it to hold the kitten when she got tired. They could also put in it the things they bought on the road. Then they left. Mag was wearing a long charcoal gray gown, which was very common in this world. It was somewhat like Hanfu 1, only that it didn't have so many layers and was simpler and neater. After all, danger lurked around every corner in this world. It was better to fight and run in something simple and comfortable at it novel than at. Mag's long gown had been made specially by the system. It was a customized one, so it fitted quite well, and the cotton the system had used was much more comfortable than the linen cotton in this world. He cut quite a figure in it, and the charcoal gray color made him look even more mature and responsible. Only the small basket in his hand was a little hilarious. When they walked past the magic potion shop, Amy teased black coal and green pea as usual. Ugly Duckling was a little hostile to the obnoxious crow, but it wasn't able to jump high enough to reach Amy's knee, let alone the birdcage which hung as high as a grown man's head, so it just growled with anger. Mag nodded at Urian with a smile and left with Amy. Father, are we going to the school right now? Amy asked, looking up at Mag. Mag shook his head, smiling. No, I have to deal with some business first, and then we'll go to the school. He had some other business to take care of other than finding an employee in a job agency. Amy nodded. Okay. She wanted nothing more than to sing for Teacher Luna right now, but she had to listen to her father. Job agencies were called job-finding services in this world. They came into being when Chaos City became prosperous. They had expanded their services from finding workers and adventurers for workshops and guilds, respectively, to almost any professions. One could even find a nurse there. They stopped at a job-finding service called Find All Job Finding Service. It was about 20 square meters. On the outside stood two oblong wooden boards, on which were stuck several pieces of paper, and on the paper were job descriptions, employees needed, and salaries. Most of the salaries were negotiable. Mag looked through the paper. Workshops were looking for workers, and adventurer groups were looking for special adventurers to do certain quests. The latter should be put up in the Adventurers Guild. Nonetheless, they were here. There was a section for job ads looking for waiters/waitresses and nurses. The average monthly salary for a waiter/waitress was 3,000 copper coins, and their meals were free. They had to work from early morning till late night. It was one of the typical jobs that had long working hours and low salary. These job ads were all quite ordinary. However, when Mag shifted his gaze to the bottom right corner, the look on his face became a little strange. Looking for a girlfriend, a succubus, or an elf. Daily salary, at least 5 gold coins. Payment is negotiable based on prettiness and skills. Looking for a demon muscle man who looks scary and can withstand the magic attacks from a third-tier magic caster. The scarier, the better. Looking for a handsome, lovely boy, an elf or a human, who should be good-looking, thoughtful, and can have us asterisk X with me 7 times a day. Daily salary, at least 10 gold coins. Payment is negotiable based on skills. Mag lifted an eyebrow. What the hell? This agency even goes as low as to look for female and male escorts for its clients? Although it was still early in the morning, this job-finding service was crammed with various species: humans, orcs, demons, and even elves. They were all staring at the wall covered with ads. Every once in a while, someone would call out a number, and then the one that had been called would talk more with a worker here. It seemed they were all looking for a job, and they got along well with each other. A voluptuous succubus walked towards the job-finding service. She gave Mag the glad eye, but Mag showed no interest. She took back her gaze and turned to look at the special section. Her eyes lit up. "Hey, I'd like to be this one's girlfriend. I think I can earn 10 gold coins a night," she shouted towards the door. "Coming," a voice answered immediately. Then a middle-aged bald man with a mustache trotted out. He took a glance at Mag and Amy first, and then walked over to the succubus with a smile. "Miss Barber, I think you can earn 15 gold coins a night with your skills. Come on in and register. We'll inform the client today, and maybe you can start working tonight." She nodded. "Thank you." Then she whipped her scarlet hair towards Mag and walked inside, wiggling her sweet body. Mag frowned at her cheap perfume. He had seen all kinds of women in his previous life, and most despised those who felt good wearing heavy makeup. His taste in women had changed several times as he aged, but he had never seen attraction in this kind of women. He even found them repulsive. The succubus he had met before was much better, but he wasn't attracted to her. "Humph!" Amy gave the succubus a wary look and lowered her hand. This white-faced woman even tried to seduce Father. If she dared to come closer, I'd let her taste my fireball. "Good morning. I'm Crease, the owner of this job-finding service. Can I help you with anything?" said the middle-aged bald man, smiling at Mag and Amy. The cute half-elf girl startled him. By the look of him, he should be wealthy, he thought. And he has a half-elf daughter. That means he is very wealthy. After all, it's difficult for a man to marry an elf girl, and even more difficult for him to wander around with a half-elf daughter. He must have an outrageous amount of money. "I'm looking for a waitress for my restaurant." At first, Mag thought this job-finding service was a little despicable. Then he remembered he was in a different world. It's nothing compared to the red light districts on Aiden Square. This agency is pretty big, so they should have more resources at it novel been at. Crease nodded. "Do you have any specific requirements?" he asked. "We have 3 kinds of waitresses. We have the ones that are normal-looking, work hard, and ask for a low salary. We have the ones that are relatively good-looking, work diligently, and ask for a moderate salary. Lastly, the ones that are good-looking and ask for a high salary. The good-looking ones include 3 species: humans, succubi, and elves. They demand a short working time and a not heavy workload." Mag raised an eyebrow. "So the salary is based on prettiness?" he asked. "The good-looking ones don't need to work hard to get well paid. I guess pretty ones get all the advantages in this world. A pretty waitress can raise a restaurant's earnings by much, especially a good-looking progressive succubus." She will double your profit on drinks, so it's a pretty good investment, he said softly. Then he smiled and added, besides, many good-looking waitresses don't mind having an affair with young restaurateurs. You can hire another 2 hard-working waitresses to do your work. Sounds good, right? Mag shook his head slightly. Can I look at the relatively good-looking one's files? He understood very well what crease meant, but he had never thought about using several voluptuous waitresses to attract customers. He disdained to do that. What he really needed was a very diligent waitress of few words. Of course, she had to be relatively good-looking at least. He didn't want her ruining his customer's appetite. He didn't mind giving her a high salary as long as she could meet his requirements. His business was booming, so an employee's salary was nothing compared to her contributions toward improving efficiency. He didn't need useless but good-looking waitresses. Crease nodded. Of course. Please come in. Our reception room is on the 2nd floor. You can read their files there. Take your time. He led Mag and Amy into the building. Half an hour later, Mag walked out with Amy disappointedly. There were indeed many applicants, but no one was to his liking. They were either too old or too plain. He wanted his employee to have a vibe that matched his restaurant. He wanted to improve his guests' dining experience. Crease walked out after them. I'll keep my eyes open, Mag. I'll contact you as soon as I find someone suitable, he said, smiling. It doesn't seem like he has come looking for trouble, or I would throw him out. He wasted me a half hour. Mag nodded. Thank you. Goodbye, Mr. Nest, Amy said, waving her little hand. His mouth twitched. Goodbye, he said, smiling. What the heck is Mr. Nest? Mag and Amy went to the market and bought some sheep milk for the kitten, and then he took her to an information collecting shop owned by a human. It was like a private detective agency. He spent 10 gold coins hiring the owner to collect detailed information on Krasu and Urian. Both old men wanted to take Amy in as their disciple, so he decided to find out who they really were first. Mag didn't have time to do it himself. Apparently, it was not a bad choice to hire a professional to do this job. He only needed to sell several Rigiamos to earn the money he needed to hire a professional. So why would he do the legwork himself? Father, can we go to the school now? Amy asked, looking up at Mag. They had been to 2 places, and the kitten was close to sleeping. Mag nodded with a smile. Yes, let's go to the school. He helped Amy put the kitten in the basket. The little thing went out like a light when it touched the soft towel. Chaos School was an educational institution under the Great Temple. It consisted of 2 sections, primary section and secondary section. Children went to either of the 2 sections based on their age and skills. Students between 5 to 12 years old were educated at the primary section. They would study rudimentary knowledge, common language, arithmetic, etc. Meanwhile, their special talents and skills would also be developed there, like magic skills, observing skills, calculating skills. Prior to entering the secondary section, they would be tested first, and those who passed the test would gain the right to receive further education at the secondary section. If they couldn't pass the test before they turned 12, they would be forced to leave the Chaos School. In fact, 5 out of 6 students would be expelled. After they graduated from the secondary section, most of them would join the Great Temple. Their skills and loyalty would become the fresh blood in maintaining the governance of the Great Temple. Mag wasn't averse to this educational system, because every graduate had the right to choose whether to join the Great Temple or not. Of course, they had to pass another test first. It reminded him of the civil service system in his previous life. The best thing about the Chaos School was probably that it was the first to bring knowledge to the city. The interaction between species had promoted the integration of human language and elf language, and thus the common language had appeared and become widely used. Yet it wasn't easy for other species to master this language, so even Haga, a chief's son, was barely able to use the common language to communicate. The primary section of the Chaos School received over 1,000 students each year, and the yearly tuition was only 5 gold coins, which was a lot less than other schools' tuition fee, at least 50 gold coins a year. Moreover, students from different species studied together in the Chaos School. It was very common for a human child to sit next to a demon, an elf, a dwarf, or a troll, which was a unique scene that one could only find here in Chaos City. After 100 years of development, Chaos City had achieved peace and harmony, And all of this would be impossible without the Gray Temple and the Chaos School. When two people from different species met on the road, they might recognize each other as classmates or schoolmates, so the hatred faded gradually. And the people here had a much higher educational level. They also contributed a lot to the peace here. Mag and Amy were standing at the gate of this large chaos school, and school was not over yet. An old man and a big orc standing at the gate had declined their request to enter. They had to contact Luna after school, and only then they could enter. Mag took a look at the big clock outside the gate. "Looks like we're too early," he said. "It's 10:30 a.m. The third class isn't over. We have to wait till around 11:30. Amy glanced at the grim-faced orc and tugged at Mag's clothes. "Father, we can sneak in," she said quietly. Mag was taken by surprise. "Sneak in?" Amy nodded. "Yes. There is a secret passage. I have used it many times." 10 minutes later, Mag turned to look at the hole covered by thick tree branches and stroked Amy's head with a smile. "Such a smart girl. I know which classroom Teacher Luna is in." "This way, Father." She grabbed Mag's finger and walked to the left quickly. Mag could see that Amy really wanted to see Miss Field, so he followed her without question. She has watched from outside the classroom before, so I guess it doesn't matter much. The teaching buildings were built of stone and wood, two-storied, and had walls made of black square stones. The roofs and second floors were made of wood. There were windows in two walls to let in as much sunlight as possible. The sound of students reading came floating out of every building. All the teaching buildings had been painted sky blue and grass green, looking lively and fresh. Some walls had children's paintings on them, paintings of different cultures. Such a harmonious sight. The man who founded the Gray Temple must be quite a visionary. Through these paintings, Mag seemed to see the future that this visionary had pictured. Start from Chaos City and spread the idea of integration. When the whole continent is truly integrated, the war among species will probably never occur again. This idea coincides with mine. If the whole continent is integrated, the number of hybrids will inevitably increase. And when they become a large part of the whole continent, the discrimination against them will naturally disappear. The thought brought a smile to Mag's face. Maybe I could witness the rise of a new era, and it would be nice if I could give it a little boost. "Father, why are you laughing?" Amy asked, a little confused. She thought a moment and said, "I know. You're happy to see Teacher Luna too. Maybe you're right." The sound of children's reading put Mag in a good mood. The atmosphere here is really nice. When Amy is old enough next year, I'll have her study here. She'll have a much better time here rather than staying home with me. She has mastered her fireball magic, so I don't think anyone will dare to bully her. Amy nodded. "Me too. I'm super excited." Then she put a finger on her lips as she pointed to the building nearby. "Teacher Luna teaches in this classroom. Let's get closer quietly." Mag nodded and said nothing. He stepped softly and followed Amy slowly to the window. Below the windowsill were two black rocks. Amy hesitated a moment and stepped on them. Now she was just as high as the windowsill. Mag looked at the two rocks with surprise. "Seems like someone put them here for Amy. They're perfect for her, and there are none below other windowsills." Luna's voice came out of the classroom. It was such a sweet and comfortable voice that it could easily attract children's attention. She was teaching the multiplication of one-digit numbers. They didn't have the 9x9 table or the decimal system, so it was not easy to do multiplication. Even Mag couldn't understand her method of multiplying 7 by 9. Poor kids. Amy listened attentively, her eyes shining in excitement at it novel been at. Mag stood behind her, listening quietly. It's not cool to disturb her. I should be careful not to make any sound. "Meow," the kitten cried out. Mag looked down. The kitten was already awake. It looked up at Amy and cried out a few more times, each time louder than the previous. "Damn!" The classroom fell silent immediately. Luna looked to the window, thinking that some wildcat had distracted her students. But her face lit up when she saw Amy. She strode towards the door quickly. "It's Amy. Hello." "Wow, I like your hair," a window seat girl wearing her hair in a mushroom bowl said delightedly as she looked at Amy, her eyes shining with excitement. "Shush, Daphne. Don't talk to me or say my name during class," Amy said immediately. "Why are you here again?" I don't like seeing you here, a demon child said solemnly. On his head was a blade of grass like a mung bean sprout, and his hair was in a mess. Shut up, Ignazio, or I'll pluck out your beans sprout again, Daphne said aggressively, glaring back at the little demon. I'm not afraid of you, he replied, but he leaned back. Ugly duckling, stop crying, or I'll roast you. Amy snapped. The kitten had been afraid of this sentence since it was an egg. It became silent right away, cowering and shivering in the little basket. Mag petted its hair, trying to comfort it. The possibility of getting roasted may hang over its head forever. Luna walked out with a smile, holding a piece of chalk. Amy, the sight of Mag holding a basket startled her before she could finish her words. Teacher Luna, I'm here to attend your class and to see you. And I want to sing for you, Amy said to Luna, giving her a big smile. Then she took a look into the classroom and became a little upset. But I seem to have disturbed the class. I'm sorry. I brought her here, and I apologize for the cat, Mag said apologetically as he stroked Amy's hair. Luna was wearing a powder blue dress and the same white silky scarf embroidered with a golden lily flower today. Apparently, she really liked that scarf. Her smile was so gentle when she looked at Amy. Don't worry. The kitten has intrigued the kids. It's been days since you last came here. They all miss you, Luna said, looking at Amy's depressed face and her father, who tried to take all the blame on himself. Then she took Amy by the hand and added softly, come on, introduce us to your little friend and sing your song for me and the class. Mag gazed at Luna. Right now, her face seemed to be shining with love and care. Her kind encouragement moved him. She's a good teacher. Amy's eyes brightened. Really? She came down from the rocks, looking at Luna's smiling face full of encouragement. Then she took the kitten out of the basket and turned to Mag. Father, I want to... Mag gave Amy an encouraging smile and nodded. Go, Amy. You can do it. Luna glanced at Mag, surprised. It's not very common for a father to be so sensitive to his child. He knows what his girl wants and how to encourage her. The sight of Mag reminded her of the Ruggiamo she had had that day, and her heart started racing. Although she had felt a little abashed, the Yongzhou fried rice and Ruggiamo had been really good. If she hadn't spent all her money she had received from home on the kids, she might have tried them one more time. He is such a good cook. She had never eaten anything better before. The thought of the good food made her mouth water despite herself. Okay, Amy said. Mag's encouragement put confidence on Amy's face immediately. She walked into the classroom with Luna. Mag stood by the window, smiling and gazing at Amy, who was in a purple dress, holding Ugly Duckling in her arms. She was no longer that shabby little girl, and he wanted her to be more confident. You haven't seen Amy for many days. Did you miss her? Luna asked the children, smiling. Yes, I do, Daphne shouted immediately. Amy looked so different with her beautiful hairstyle and new dress. Ignazio shook his head. Not really, but he couldn't divert his eyes away from Amy. Why is she suddenly so pretty? She's like a China doll. Other kids were all staring at Amy out of curiosity. She used to be so ragged and her hair was always messy. How has she become so beautiful all of a sudden? She is even more adorable than the elf next door. When they saw Ugly Duckling in Amy's arms, their eyes widened in delight. It's so fluffy, so small, and so cute. I want to hold it and give it a stroke. And it's white and orange, cuter than those black or white cats. For the first time, Amy had received so much admiration and envy. She was nervous but also happy. They didn't look at her with disgust and pity anymore. She felt so good that she smiled. Luna was also smiling. She had tried to build up her confidence, but every time the little girl got picked on, she got more frustrated and less confident. It's only been a few days. Amy seems to have changed completely, not just on the outside, but on the inside as well. She seems to have become stronger and more sure of herself. She has stopped worrying about her being different from others. No one else but Mag has brought about this change. Why does he suddenly seem like a different man, starting to care about Amy? She wondered. Amy has brought a new friend with her today, and she wanted to sing a song for us, Luna said, smiling, giving Amy an encouraging look. Holding the kitten in her arms, she said, This is Ugly Duckling, Mai. Then she paused a moment, trying to figure out what it was to her. Father said it will become a swan when it grows up. Now I think it's my pet. A swan? The children became really intrigued. They gazed at the orange cat in Amy's arms and didn't know what was ugly about this cute cat. It doesn't even look like a duck. And it will become a swan. Added novel Benet. Why is it called Ugly Duckling? Daphne asked curiously. Because it's so ugly, Amy replied directly. Then she added, besides, it came out of an egg. I've never seen such an ugly duckling. It came out of an egg? If it's a duckling, then it's really very ugly. Yes, it looks like a kitten though. Weird. No wonder it's different from normal kittens. But it's so cute. Amy's explanation made them quickly accept the idea that Ugly Duckling was really a very ugly duckling. It's a duckling, but it looks like a kitten, so it's indeed not a good-looking duckling. But it's so cute. Meow. Ugly Duckling retorted helplessly. Luna looked at the kitten in Amy's arms. It was so cute and so fluffy that she wanted to hold it too. But she didn't think that it would grow into a swan. Looks like Mag is wrong. I want to sing a song for you and Teacher Luna. The children's recognition really raised Amy's confidence. She took a glance at Mag smiling outside the window and continued, it's called A Little Girl with Mushrooms. I don't think she can sing any songs, Ignatsa muttered in a low voice. Daphne gave him an angry glare, and he immediately fell silent, but he still didn't believe that Amy could sing anything nice. Go ahead, Amy. I can't wait to hear it, Luna said, smiling. A little girl goes to collect mushrooms. She carries a big bamboo basket, Amy sang carefully, holding Ugly Duckling in her arms. All the children were attracted by the merry song and Amy's soft voice. The sound struck love into their hearts and brought merry smiles onto their faces. Mag looked at the little kids lost in her song, and then at Amy, feeling very proud. My daughter is really amazing. This was the first time he had heard her sing the whole song. She had sung unaccompanied, but her childish voice was so pleasant to the ear that he found she sang even better than the music box. Wonderful! Ignatsu exclaimed, his eyes widened, his bean sprout cheerfully waving side to side. Amy's so incredible, Daphne said, resting her chin in her hands. She was extremely fond of Amy. The looks on other children's faces were almost the same. They were very surprised at Amy's sudden change. Then their surprise changed into envy and admiration. She's really incredible. Luna was also taken by surprise. Such a good song. But why have I never heard it before? Is it a local children's song? She had thought that Amy would sing a song that she had taught her, and never expected to hear a tune that even she didn't know. She couldn't help but take a glance at Mag. Did he teach Amy this song? After she had finished, Amy looked down at the children, abashed and expectant. She didn't know how she had performed. Bravo! Ignatsus said, clapping his hands. Then the other children cheered and clapped. Amy smiled happily. It was the first time that she had been recognized by so many people, and they were her peers no less. She felt so delighted. Luna nodded, smiling. Yes, Amy sang very well. Thank you, Amy, for your excellent performance. Amy nodded cheerfully. It's my pleasure. Then she saw the problem on the blackboard. She hesitated a moment. Teacher Luna, I know the answer to this multiplication problem, she said, looking up at Luna. Luna froze for an instant. Yes. She took a look at the 7 by 8 on the board. I have just taught them how to do this multiplication today. It's very complicated, and only few who are good at arithmetic have learned how to do it. Amy was not here these days, so it's impossible for her to know the answer. I don't think so. It's very difficult. Only I know how to do it, a little boy in blue and white said from the first row, pride written all over his face. I find it easy, Amy said solemnly, gazing at the boy at it novel Benet. I don't believe you. Solve it if you think it's easy, the boy said defiantly. Only a few can do it. And she said it's easy? I don't believe her. Other children had similar looks on their faces. She can't do it. Only Teacher Luna and a math genius like Palmer know how to solve such a difficult problem. Mag found their sudden argument surprising and amusing. Amy has already mastered the 9 by 9 table, so it's very easy for her to solve this problem. It's about time they felt the power of the 9 by 9 table. Luna wanted to say something to lighten the atmosphere. Amy has just become confident. I don't want her to get back to her old self. The answer is 56, Amy said calmly, looking at Palmer. Did she get it right? The children wondered. Luna hadn't told them the answer yet, so they all looked to their teacher and Palmer. Palmer rose quickly to his feet. How? How do you know? He looked at Amy and then at the answer on his exercise book, shocked. Amy gave a slight nod. By calculating, the answer is 56. Luna was no less surprised than her students. I know Amy's studying progress better than anyone. There's no way she can solve that problem. But she gave the correct answer without having to use paper and a pen. Did he tell her the answer while they were outside? She wondered. Great! Amy has got it right, Daphne exclaimed, smiling happily. Ignatza gazed at Amy with a strange look on his face, as if he were seeing her for the first time. How has she become as clever as Palmer all of a sudden? After Luna told them the answer, the looks on the children's faces changed instantly. We don't know how to do it, but she only needs to take a glance to know the answer. She might be even cleverer than Palmer. I don't believe her. She must have got lucky, Palmer said. Teacher Luna, please give us 5 more problems, and let's see who can work out the answers faster. He felt his position as a math genius was in danger. As you wish, Amy said coldly. Luna had planned to de-escalate the situation. She took a look at Mag, who was very calm, and nodded after hesitating a moment. Then she wrote 5 multiplication problems on the blackboard. Palmer resumed his seat. He looked at the 5 problems on the blackboard and said to Amy confidently, I'll count to 3 and then we start. The one finishing them faster wins. 1. Add novel benedad. 64, 42, 72, 48, 63. I've finished, Amy said calmly, looking at the board. Palmer had just counted to 3. Before he could close his mouth and write down the problems, Amy had finished. The classroom fell silent. They didn't know if Amy had got all of them right, but she was unmistakably a lot faster than Palmer. Amy gave the answers before Palmer even started calculating. They all looked to their teacher, waiting for her to tell them the correct answers. Did you just say some random numbers? Palmer asked, incredulous. I have calculated, Amy said seriously, looking at Luna. Luna looked at the board and gave the answers. 64, 42, 72, 48, 63. Amy's answers are correct. Her voice rose a little in astonishment. Of course, these problems were easy to her, but even she had to calculate in her head to know the answers. It seems Amy knows the answers without having to think. Maybe only a genius can calculate this fast. Amy's really amazing, Daphne exclaimed. She had just said what other kids wanted to say. Palmer is incredible, but now it seems Amy is even more incredible than him. Holy moly! I can't play with her anymore. All good grade children are nuts, Ignatza said in fright, shaking his head disappointedly. For a while, Palmer didn't say anything. Then he nodded solemnly. I lose, he said. Father said, win or lose, a man must always act like a man, especially before a woman. Although maybe Father only said that to comfort himself, because he is often beaten by Mother and doesn't dare to hit back, I still think he has a point. Amy nodded. Yes, you lose. Her voice wasn't too proud, but she sounded as if she had seen it coming. Her tone frustrated Palmer even more. She's so incredible. That was many children's only thought about Amy. The shabby little girl has become even cleverer than Palmer. Mag smiled. Our 9x9 table is beyond compare. Then he looked at the gentlemanly boy. His face looks familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen him. The bell rang. The children immediately put this entire incident behind them and couldn't wait for Luna to say, class dismissed. All right, class dismissed, she said, not prolonging the class. Right now, Luna had a lot of questions on her mind. She took Amy by the hand and walked out of the classroom. I'm sorry, Mag. Can I ask you a few questions? She said. If you don't mind, can we talk in my office? Mag nodded, smiling. Okay. He had something to ask her, too. After they arrived at her office, Luna gave Amy a candy and had her play by herself on a chair nearby. She wasn't able to hold back her questions any longer. How did Amy learn to do those problems so quickly in such a short time? I taught her a multiplication table before, but it has so many terms, she didn't memorize them all. There's no way she can solve those problems so quickly using that multiplication table. I taught her a new multiplication table, and a new numeral system. It's much easier, so she could work out those answers so quickly. Mag didn't lie, because he trusted Luna, and there was no need to hide something like this. It would be interesting to see the 9 by 9 table dominate this world. War might be the fastest way to achieve integration, but it would also cause the most problems. It would be much better if culture could promote integration. Luna's eyes lit up immediately. A new numeral system? She had thought Amy had studied harder under Mag these days. If this much easier numeral system really exists, it will be a milestone in the mathematics world. Her hands started shaking with excitement. Mag, is this system universal? She asked solemnly. Mag nodded. Yes, I think so, he said. It has been used in China for thousands of years, so of course it's universal. But it would be impractical to just rely on Luna to spread this system. We need to involve a much larger institution, like the Grey Temple. Teacher Luna, Father is really incredible, Amy said, holding Ugly Duckling in her arms, the look on her face very proud. Mag, I know it's too forward, but can I have a look at this new system of yours? Luna asked earnestly. If you plan to publish it, maybe I can help. My grandfather is one of the educational officials in the Roth Empire. I can't tell you his name, but he is dedicated to spreading knowledge of arithmetics. Our numeral system is too complicated, so not many people have the patience to learn it, and even less have mastered it. In Chaos School, every year, only half the children can pass the arithmetic test when they finish their studying in the primary section. If your system is easier and universal, I'm sure he'll be glad to help. Your name will live in the arithmetic history. It was all well and good to be able to live in history, but Mag didn't want to be so conspicuous right now. The name Mag Alex had been a thorn in the flesh of many people in Rodu. If he stuck out now, a lot of people would be provoked. He was a little surprised to find that Luna's grandfather was an educational official. He had thought she was just a lady from a normal noble family. Most of the people in Mag Alex's life had been military men, so he didn't know many officials from other departments. Now that I think about it, the name Field does ring a bell. I seem to recall that an old man from a royal banquet was a Field. We had a drink together. He could drink a lot. Maybe he and Luna are related. Mag nodded, smiling. Sure, I can show you the numeral system. But can I use the name Mamie instead of mine? It was a perfect chance to advertise his restaurant. If they named such epic-making numeral system and the 9 by 9 table after a restaurant, I wonder what the kids here will think when they study the Mamie table, Mag thought. Luna nodded. Sure, she said. It's too early to talk about this sort of thing. I have to see the system first. Mag nodded. He asked for a pen and paper and wrote down the 9 by 9 table. In order to explain it better, he wrote down the whole 81 terms. Then he explained the decimal system in detail. People here were using the sexagesimal system, and it had more than 1,700 terms, so the multiplication and division of two-digit numbers and more were extremely complicated. One would be considered a mathematics expert here if he or she was able to do the division of three-digit numbers and more. So, before spreading the 9 by 9 table, this complicated system had to be replaced. History has proved that the decimal system invented by the Chinese sages was the simplest and most universal system. This system and the 9 by 9 table together were enough to solve most of the mathematical problems in life. It was an era in which the ancient Chinese dominated the whole world in arithmetic. Luna watched beside Mag, her eyes bright and her mouth wide. She was an arithmetics teacher and grew up in an arithmetical family. She could see what Amy hadn't seen. Although she couldn't fully understand the decimal system, Mag's simple and ingenious explanation had helped her see the excellence of this system. She saw infinite possibilities in this system and the catchy 9 by 9 table. Mag, I don't know if your system is universal, but you're undoubtedly a genius, Luna said earnestly as she watched Mag put down the pen. Smiling, Mag shook his head. I'm not a genius. I just know a little more than you. He didn't know what effect the wisdom of the ancient sages would have on this world. I'll have it delivered to Rodu as soon as possible. I don't have the ability to verify it or assess its value, but I'm sure it will cause quite a stir in the arithmetic world. And the word Mamie won't be forgotten. Luna found Mag modest and courteous. He's a great cook and a genius in arithmetic. He would even use the word Mamie to sign such a great discovery. Talk about spoiling a child. Such an interesting and mysterious man. Is there anything he can't do? Amy gazed at Mag, eyes shining. Even teacher Luna said Dad is a genius. Dad is indeed amazing. Mag nodded, smiling. I don't think they have the concept of thesis or patent in this world, and I don't plan on using this to make money. It will be our awesome advertisement. He didn't come here to teach the 9 by 9 table. He remembered his mission of finding a magic teacher for Amy. Miss Field, I've come here with Amy to visit you, and I have a question. Can the magic teachers here teach a student outside school hours? Amy is interested in magic, but she's not old enough to be enrolled, so I want to hire a teacher to teach her some basic knowledge about magic. Luna shook her head regretfully. I'm afraid they can't. Teachers here are not allowed to provide paid lessons outside school, or they will be dismissed. Then she took a look at Amy and added, Amy can study here next year, but she won't be able to get access to magic knowledge until she gets older. After her magic talent is confirmed by a magic teacher, she will be taught with other kids like her. Never thought Mag would come here personally to find a private magic teacher for Amy, thought Luna. I see. Thank you, Miss Field. Mag was a little disappointed, but he was powerless against their rules. His plans had fallen through. Now he had to find another way. Amy is young. There is no need to rush to learn magic. It's very dull, Luna said, smiling at Amy. Amy shook her head. Teacher Luna, I love magic. I think it's very interesting. Mag and Amy stayed in Luna's office for a while before they left. When they walked through the gate, the old man and the orc gaped at them with confusion. They didn't know when they had entered Adet Novel Benedet. I have to have it delivered to my grandfather now. It may prove to be an important turning point in his cause of spreading the knowledge of arithmetics. He will be very interested in him. Luna watched Mag leave by the window, excited. Then she strode to the table, picked up the 2 pieces of paper, put them in her pocket carefully, and walked out. Father, are we going back home now? Amy asked as she looked up at Mag, holding his finger. She was in a good mood today. Her song had been praised by the children, and she had beaten Palmer with a 9 by 9 table her father taught her. She didn't feel inferior to them anymore. Mag shook his head. No, now that we're out here, we should enjoy ourselves. Let's go find lunch. Staying at his restaurant every day was boring, and it was just lunchtime, so he walked towards a pretty busy roasted meat restaurant with Amy. Let me see what this restaurant has to offer. Ugly Duckling had fallen asleep again. Mag had covered it with the towel, so no one would know what was inside the basket unless it cried out. The aroma of the roasted meat tickled their noses the moment they walked in. However, Mag frowned. There is a smell of mutton in that aroma. The spice is too pungent. It smells even stronger than pepper. Father, are we eating roasted meat? Amy's eyes were shining with excitement. She had never had roasted meat before. Mag was hesitating, debating whether to stay or not. The expectant look on Amy's face helped him make up his mind. He nodded. Yes. They seated themselves by a window. This restaurant was quite popular on Aden Square, almost as popular as the Friar Tavern. People always lined up here at dinner time. Even during lunch, the room with over 20 tables was almost full. Mag took a look at the plate on the table nearby. The mutton had been cut into pieces a little black. On the surface was some black sauce and seasoning. 2 customers were enjoying their meat, talking and laughing, seeming pretty satisfied with the food. The sauce is not even on the meat. The timing of the seasoning was wrong. The temperature of the fire was too high. The meat has been overcooked. Did an assistant cook make that? One look at the dish, and Mag wanted to criticize it. Smile. I'm an owner of a restaurant now. If I can't control my vicious tongue, I may be recognized, and they may think I came here to look for trouble. Mag calmed himself down, opened the menu, and ordered a plate of mutton and a plate of beef. These were the most expensive ones on the menu. Each plate, 88 copper coins. Mag lifted an eyebrow. Now I understand the looks on their faces when they see our menu. The cheapest was a set meal for children, 20 copper coins, even cheaper than his egg.